Thank you and welcome to Disavowed Podcast. I am your always gracious and humble host, Bebo the Great. And this evening, I have a guest with me. His name is Based Prism. He runs a YouTube channel. Based, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what your channel.
Yeah, man. So I started my channel in September. I've been on YouTube following people for a long time, and I just decided, I'm not the kind of person. I never thought I'd have a YouTube channel, just to be real. But I got tired of just watching how far to the left things were going and not seeing as many people fighting. And I was like, you know what? I just got to do my part and do what I can do and get out there. So I started the channel. We cover a lot of politics. I try to do a lot of interviews. Ideally, in the long term, I kind of want the channel to be like a combination between some of those interview shows you see, like London Real and shows like that, and a combination of Coast to Coast AM, something like Art Bell used to do, because I'm very interested in those topics as well. So, I'm hoping that as I grow, I can get more and more interesting people on the show.
All right. I actually watch your show from time to time, and you discuss politics, I would say probably the majority of the time, right?
Yeah, right now, yes.
Yeah, and I find it interesting. You said you started out as a Democrat or a liberal.
Oh yeah, let's see, I've been a conservative since about 2010. I voted for Obama in 2008. And, I went to college. I have a master's degree. So, I got plenty of that liberal indoctrination in school. You know what I mean? But
what's your degree in?
Social work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's even a more probably that's probably even a more liberal field too.
Yeah, man, right? Absolutely, dude. I'm pretty sure at least a couple of my professors were communists.
Yeah.
But
see, I didn't go to college, but I grew up in Metro Detroit, and I grew up in, like, both my grandfathers worked for the auto industry, right?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, they were both your traditional union, right, type men. So I was the same thing. I voted for Gore actually the first time I voted.
Right? Oh wow.
But see, I've looked at the politics, and to be honest with you, Trump really was the only one. Like, to me, not Gore, but Romney versus Obama, to me, they were almost the same candidate, right? In my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something that you've seen, for years, is the illusion of choice, right? I mean, they're for the most part, with the exception of someone like Trump, they're all in and on it together, right? They give you, you either get, you get a Democrat and you get a rhino, and you got to pick one of those. And, there's little variation between them, but for major policy, there's not really going to be any difference. And I think that's why people, have really taken to Trump, because they can tell that he's not the same.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, Trump was the first time where, like, you had a clear, like, major. He wasn't a part of, like, the neocon, right, wing of the Republican establishment, right?
Right.
I think up until Trump, like, with McCain and Bush, they were obviously neocon. I think even if Romney would have won, he probably would have been a neocon too, right? So up until that point, I believe that the Republican Party establishment was basically your typical, like, Cheney neocon, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
And they talk about how Trump is a fascist, right? They always label him a fascist. At this point, if you believe in, like, any type of military or police force, you're apparently a fascist now, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly, man. Exactly.
But this is if I must say though, if Trump is a fascist, he's perhaps one of the worst fascists I've ever seen. To where, to where, he allowed
Yeah.
rioting and looting in his own nation, didn't even send in the federal forces, right?
I know, man. I know, and everybody wanted him to do it, man. I was one of those people. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Let's put that. We can put this down immediately because it went far beyond protest. So,
Yes. See, I was the type of guy, like, if my opinion, I would have sent them in and busted their heads, whether it costed me the election or not, right? And what I think happened though is I think Trump was thinking that it was going to benefit him.
mhm.
What's your thoughts on why do you think Trump allowed the rioting and looting to go on?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest problem Trump's had his entire presidency is that he's had, horrible advisors. And, he's traditionally put horrible people around him, which, I don't know if that's necessarily how much fault that is of his own, because there's not a lot of people like Trump to surround yourself with. But I think he got bad advice. And I think that the reason you're right. I think that it had to do with the reelection, but I don't know how he didn't see that his base wanted him to take action. And the Democrats were never going to vote for Trump, right? Like that was never going to happen. So any pandering to that group is just, to me, it's just pointless.
Right. I mean, I do feel there was because I still get pushed back today, even in the Republican side of like there's still a lot of pushback, like concerning like even like the election, right? Like I'm
Mhm.
more. I'm pessimistic, right? Like I don't think he's going to win. I don't think there is this grand, great conspiracy that he's going to come out and he's going to all right now come to the rescue and save us.
Oh, I agree, man. I mean, that's
I think we lost him.
okay. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
All right, cool. Yeah, for whatever reason, when my computer's plugged in, my webcam starts glitching. So I went to unplug it, and it did that for
Yeah.
some reason. But I'm sorry. What was the question again?
Yeah, basically like the Q theory that this is all part of the plan,
Oh
and like
yeah, yeah.
he's gonna come and save us.
That at first I was a little more inclined to believe that. I mean, everybody was saying that, but you've watched challenge after challenge after.
Oh man, lost him again.
Sorry, man.
Yeah,
Um,
we're having some.
I'm gonna fix the wireless, and hopefully that'll fix it. But um, I mean, and I've heard that, and it still amazes me that there's still so many people that think there's this grand master plan, because it's becoming harder and harder to think that. Now, I know who won the election. I'm not going to delve too deep into that because we have the tyranny of communication here, but I mean, it's not looking very good, and so I'm preparing for the worst. And my biggest fear actually is that, if Biden is installed, then the majority of conservatives are just going to be like, "Oh well, we tried," because that you're going to need to be even more active if that happens, because oh my god, dude, it's going to get bad.
Right. Now, like, but you would agree with me, like, people like me that are out here saying, like, no, there is no plan. We get a lot of pushback from our own people, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And, see, this is the way I look at it. I think, in a way, it's a way to make us more passive, right?
Hmm.
because if everyone believes there's this grand scheme, and like, have you even heard the theory? He made Christmas Eve a holiday now, right? A federal
Yeah,
holiday.
I heard about that. Yeah.
Okay, now there's this theory out here. That's when the arrests are coming, right? Because
Yeah. I hear people all the time saying that such and such is going to get arrested and this person's going to get arrested. And look, man, I hope it happens. You know what I mean? I hope, I really do. Nothing would make me happier, right? But history tells us that the odds of that happening are so small, right? And I do agree with you about what you said. I haven't really thought about it about that way as far as being passive. And that's another thing I've been talking about too. I mean, let's just be real. One man can't save a country, right? You look at all these people in the COVID lockdowns who have allowed their churches to be shut down, who have allowed themselves to be locked at home, who have voluntarily given in to the government to, end up losing their business. And for whatever reason, those people can't seem to find the will to fight back. And the point I'm trying to make here is that if the citizens just stood up and said, we're going to reopen our business, we're going to go back to church, what could they do? You know what I mean? Because that's a massive amount of people if everyone would get in with it. So Trump can't do it alone, and that's.
I completely agree with you there, right? But here's the problem. The first people that do it, right? The first people that open their businesses and stay open, they're going to take all the arrows.
Right.
Right. And no one wants to be that first. See, they're going to attack you hardest when there's only one or two doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, if them one or two can sustain it and get away with it, and then they will make the fines on you so harsh and so, unbearable to the point where they'll make an example out of you. Like, for example, I'm in Michigan, and she just lifted our ban on everything basically except for restaurants right today. Right. So now everything's open except for restaurants. And her reasoning behind that is because in a restaurant, you have to take your mask off. So we're required to wear our mask everywhere. Right. So, and even me, like, I'll go into Walmart, right? And I won't wear the mask initially. But if some employee comes up to me and asks me to put it on, I'll put it on just to avoid confrontation, right? And I'm I don't give a crap most of the time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
but I also have a family. I can't go to jail over a mask. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that, man. I don't have any kids, so I have a little bit more luxury. Although from time to time, if we are out and somebody gives me grief, I might wear one just to keep peace with my wife, who happens to be very liberal, by the way. So that's a tightrope of walking in and of itself. But as far as your point about the first people that come out, being attacked, that's absolutely true, and that's why people are afraid to do it. What's been missing from this whole thing really is that no one has taken it upon themselves to organize. Like, that's what it's going to take for everyone to feel comfortable, for a business owner to go around and talk to other business owners and say, if I do this, are you with me? If we do this together, it'll work. Same thing in almost every other situation we're talking about here.
Right. We had something similar. There's a restaurant chain in Metro Detroit called Andiamo's, right? It's sort of like a fancier Olive Garden, right? And the owner of Andiamo's came out and he was having a meeting and he invited all the local restaurateurs in Metro Detroit to come to his meeting, and they came after him harder. Right. They literally did news stories on him. And then his Facebook page just got flooded with bad reviews. And, so like I said, they make especially if you are someone that they believe that could do it, someone that could possibly organize everyone and bring everyone, they even come after you then 10 times harder. And
right.
And we had a couple of restaurants out here stay open, and they stripped them of their liquor license, right? And then there was one of them that still stayed open, and then the other one 2 days later capitulated and gave in. So and for example, the one restaurant that now that is open for dining out here, I called out up to see if they had openings. 2.5 hour wait.
Wow. That's a long time if you're hungry, brother.
Yeah. So it shows that there's people supporting it. But, but I agree with you 110% on the organization side of it. And like, we are not very organized, right?
Right. That's always been one of our biggest downfalls. And that's not to say that everyone who owns a business, especially a place like Michigan, is conservative. They're just, they own a business, they want to support their family. But, as far as conservatives, always been the biggest weakness. If you look at the liberal machine, right, it is well trained, well organized. They will do whatever it takes for them to win. And for whatever reason, we just don't seem to have that same type of drive.
Now, why do you think that is?
I think part of it, honestly, has to do with certain aspects of Christianity, because I think a lot of people have been, taught this, turn the other cheek ideology, just pray about it and give it over to God. But, while by all means pray for our country, but what I'm saying is it's going to take more than that. It's kind of like if you have cancer, for example, and you have eaten just a god awful diet and smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day, then you get diagnosed with cancer. You continue to eat a god awful diet and smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day. And then you're like, well, I'm going to pray for God to take this cancer away. Probably not going to work out the way you want it to, because you got to help yourself too. And that's what I think.
Well, there's actually a, quote in the Bible about works, right? Like, faith without works is dead. Right. It's something, I'm not no Bible. I'm a very religious person, right? But like, I'm not a Bible scholar, but, yeah. And that's a prime example. And I would argue that there's a difference between turning the other cheek and playing dead. Right. Like, our pastors don't want us to turn the other cheek. They want us to play possum.
No. Yeah.
And, I also believe like the system is, the Democrats and liberals have been winning.
They have, man. They've absolutely. That's how, we've moved for years, decades. We've moved further and further and further to the left. And while the liberals are to blame, that they've organized this, they fought, but we're also equally to blame, because we sat by for decades and watched our country get to the point that it's gotten to. We weren't willing to make the sacrifices necessary to fight for our country. And, in Congress, there's always talking about compromise and compromise and compromise. But if you're a conservative, you've got conservatives, you got your liberals in Congress. If you are compromising with the liberals as conservatives, what that means is inherently every time that you reach a compromise, that compromise, while it may be more slowly, still moves you further to the left. Because there's, the conservatives have never really been willing to stand their ground, especially the rhino conservatives.
Right. Yeah. The problem though is, right, we have the establishment, right? And let's be honest, most of the time you have to have the person with the most money in an election tends to win.
Oh yeah. And that's a big factor. Yeah.
And people don't realize this, that Trump, even though he raised less money than Hillary last time, the only reason, in my opinion, that he ended up pulling it out is, well, there's two, really, in my opinion. One, I don't think they thought he was going to win, right? So you had the element of surprise, right? And then two, I believe the media exposure and him just being Trump also helped him.
Yeah, I mean, especially in those debates, man, he tore Hillary apart in those debates. You know, everybody was like, you know, they'd never seen a political candidate like that. Usually it's just two people standing behind the podium and being formal. And he just came out swinging, man. I think people ate it up,
Hmm.
you know?
All right, so you know, let me ask you some. So, what was the point in your life where you were like, I'm not a liberal? When did you change?
Well, you know, I was working a job and I had a friend of mine, he was a libertarian
Mm.
and he was listening to you know, like Adam Kokesh back in the day and the name that shall not be mentioned. And you know who that is. But
No,
yeah,
oh, AJ.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, he just, you know, we'd go out on smoke breaks, we smoked together and he would just talk to me about all this stuff cuz I've always liked talking about politics. And
Mm.
you know, finally he gives me some stuff to start watching and I started watching. And I was like, well, this is kind of interesting. And it just kind of, you know, it was like a, you know, year-long process from there, you know, just kind of analyzing everything and
It, it,
hearing new information.
it was a. I was involved in the Paul. Ron Paul is really the one that brought me around. Like after 9/11, though, I started going. I hate to admit this, but like at one point I was a neocon, right? like I hate to admit it, right? But
You're a
like
Bush guy, huh?
yeah, like well, I voted for Gore, but then after,
Mhm.
but like I was young. That was my first time voting. I was 18 years old, right? And I was basically a Democrat because my family were Democrats, right? And
Right.
then after 9/11, I started paying attention to politics because I was like, holy cow, people want to kill us over, like,
Yeah.
this is serious stuff, right? And then, so I started paying attention to politics, right? And then, you remember after 9/11, Bush's approval rating went to like 90% or something like that,
Oh, yep.
right?
Yep.
So then I started coming around to Bush, right? But at the end, I didn't like Bush, right? After the
Mhm.
weapons of mass destruction, how he was joking about it and everything, like
That was such a fraud.
yeah, right. So then I was done. Like, oh my God, I got tricked. I'm embarrassed, like and then Ron Paul came with his first run in I think '08, right? And
Mhm.
and then that's what I actually know Kokesh. I don't know. For everyone out there, if you like Kokesh, I have an interview on this channel. Go check it out with me and
Oh, you interviewed Kokesh?
yeah.
Oh,
Maybe
wow.
I could hook him up with you. He shut down his YouTube channel.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything from him in years, man. I was kind of wondered what happened to him.
Well, he just recently shut down the YouTube channel though because they've been giving him strikes. So, but they've shadow banned him. Like he has like 250,000 subs, and he'll go live and have like 30 people only.
Man, I had no idea that guy was on YouTube still. I've looked for him, not recently, but I have in the past looked for him.
Yeah,
I
yep,
had
he's
no
still
idea.
on. Yep. But he don't do it no more on YouTube. You gotta. He's only on like what's the one where you gotta pay for the content? Uh, like subscribe. What's the one the opposite of Subscribestar? I forget.
Patreon?
Yeah, he's on Patreon. You got to be a
Mm.
contributor now to get his stuff. But yeah, so we have a very similar like story basically,
Mhm.
and then from the libertarian, but would you still consider yourself a libertarian or what, like, or libertarian leaning?
Definitely. Absolutely, man. You know, I mean, I have some beliefs that people might see as liberal, like, you know, I think we should legalize most drugs. I don't really have an issue with legalizing prostitution. I mean, these things are going to happen regardless of whether they're legal or illegal. And so, you know, in my opinion, we just, you know, we save a lot of money and law enforcement, you know, hours dealing with those things.
See, I was similar to that, but now like I've switched. Like I'm more of the you know I'm a Christian theocracy now is what I believe. Not like, but like I know this is gonna make a lot of people upset, but like I consider myself a libertarian fascist, right? That I know that sounds crazy, right? But I believe that liberty, the only way liberty can be protected is with an iron fist, right? Okay, so if you hear the old saying like have a iron fist with a velvet glove, you get what I'm saying? Like we are completely socialist by nature right now, right? Our government is socialist. We have social security. We have you got to get licensed to do just about anything, right?
Yep.
So we got to accept that fact that that's what we are. Now the problem is, how do we, we're polar opposites, Democrats and Republicans. How can, I'm so sick of the weak, everyone wants this unity.
Right. And especially, it's funny that, for years we've been called Nazis and fascists. And now that they've gotten rid of Trump allegedly, and they, are going to have Joe Biden, they're like, oh, we got to come together for unity. And what that means is come together with us and help us move the country further to the left, because we're going to do it anyway. Like, no, I'm not there. No unity. You can't unify with evil.
Let me ask you, what we could simply unify with them. We could all wake up tomorrow and go vote Democrat, right? We could all wake up tomorrow and say we want universal income. We could all wake up tomorrow and say forgive all student debt, right? We could right? We could all do that, right?
Right.
So why would I want to unite with that? We could wake up tomorrow and say, allow abortion up to birth.
Yeah, I mean, that's unifying with evil, man. I mean, you can't do that.
Yeah. So why does our side always do that? Why is this desire to be unified? I have no desire to be unified, but I don't want a civil war. I want secession. I want Trump to come out and say, Lord Jesus, I repent, and I have seen the light, and the answer is 2 countries.
Well, that's, I mean, it seems to be that we don't have very many options at this point, because, our youth have been indoctrinated for so long, and that's really where it started. The establishment realized that if they could indoctrinate the kids, weaken the males, they could control society. And so they've really indoctrinated people to the left. And here's what happens a lot of times when you try to change someone on the left's opinion. Most of them have been to college, and a lot of conservatives haven't been. So they're immediately going to stick that, I have an education, I know more, you're not educated. They're going to use that when they don't realize that most of what they've been taught as far as an education in that regard has been a complete farce, right? So I kind of forgot the point.
Well,
what was the other question in that?
Well, to be honest with you, here's my stance on that. Like, I don't think indoctrination matters. You have one side trying to teach personal responsibility, right? Mm-hmm. And there's actions and there's consequences to those actions, right? Then you have the other side that is trying to teach basically bailout, right? Mm-hmm. Like, for example, they want to pay off student loan debts, right? If they're so smart and they're so much superior to us in knowledge, why can they not make enough money to pay back their own loans? Why do I have to subsidize it?
Exactly. I mean, you're just reinforcing the complete opposite of personal responsibility.
Right.
But I do remember now the other thing I wanted to say. So you're talking about secession, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's very few options in my mind that are tenable at this time. So you've got secession. I'm not sure if that's how viable that is.
It's not legal.
No, it's not. But when our founding fathers designed this country, they never designed it with the federal government to have this much control. Like, it was always supposed to be strong states' rights. Right. Because that way every state could choose to operate as they wanted to. And in my mind, that would alleviate a lot of the problems we have at this time is, if we just, I don't see many other options, is you just let California be California and stop trying to impose a bunch of BS on the South and the middle of the country, and just strong states' rights. And I think that's really what we got to get back to.
Yeah, we have a comment. She says they want a stimulus package of 908 billion. That's from Lisa.
Wow.
But that's actually the low end. That is the meeting point that the two parties have come to. Now, this is what's going to happen, though, if they pass the stimulus package while Trump is in there. You're going to see another stimulus after when Biden gets in also.
Yep, probably so.
There's no doubt about it. No doubt. And then imagine they forgive all these student loans, right? Now I have a daughter in college. I've been paying for my daughter's college as much as possible so she can take as few loans as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what happens now if they come along and forgive everyone's student loans? Like now I paid.
Right.
Like, how does this? Why do I have to pay?
No, man.
Like,
yeah, I mean, exactly, man. And listen, I have this conversation. I have a dog in this fight. I mean, I have 6 figures in student loans, and I've had a lot of health problems that have prevented me from reaching my full potential, and I still don't want student loan forgiveness. It's not fair for somebody else to pay for your poor choices.
Right. And see but you see what I'm saying right there, that most people are going to decide to forgive the student loans in a position like you because it's in their self-interest. Yes. Right? That's the problem with freedom. All right? No one is willing to fight for anyone else's freedom. Okay. In the old days, whether I like someone or not, I like their views or not, if I saw someone chastising someone else or trying to get violent with someone else over their viewpoint, whether I agree with it or not, I would step in, like, leave this gentleman alone. He's got the right to his opinion. We don't do that no more. Now, if you say something out of the realm of, political correctness, right? You get the mob after you. So no one's willing to stand up and say, especially from the left.
No, not at all, man. I mean, that's exactly everybody's just looking out for their own self-interest. And it's interesting because, I mean, plenty of conservatives go to college as well, but you don't hear all of them crying about wanting student loan forgiveness. So, another thing, and there's a study on this I read, I don't remember when it was or what it was exactly, but it was a research study where they did a study, and it shows that conservatives are more generous than liberals by quite a bit.
Yeah. As far as donating to nonprofits, yeah, that's completely true. But I don't know if I even believe that, though, because if you look at it, most of the nonprofits now, they tend to be liberal organizations, right? And did you see that what BLM raised the last quarter?
I saw that today. I don't remember the exact figure, but it was ridiculous.
10.6 billion.
That's crazy.
In 3 months leading up to the election, they raised $10.6 billion. I'm sorry, there's no right-wing organizations raising that type of money. None.
Well, but exactly, and that's another problem. All your corporations, all your big tech giants, all these big, mammoth corporations are now liberal oriented. So where it's going to get to the point is going to be where the conservative is going to get the money from, because now, not that I think we should take money from corporations anyway. I think it's a terrible idea. But what I'm trying to say is that the liberals are going to do it. So how are the conservatives, puts them in a position where they're either going to have to take the money as well or find it somewhere else, or the money may not even be there at all.
Well, there's this illusion that corporate America is Republican. This is a false illusion. This is not true. Look at all the businesses who they're siding with on social issues. They're
Hmm.
not. No. Now, you could say hypothetically that corporations are uh, physically, financially conservative. Yeah, I would agree with that, right? But socially, you know, what I find so ironic is these large corporations that are now placating to these people, right? The
Hmm.
Specifically the African American community, right? Like MLB came out the other day and said that the Negro League is now a part of the MLB, and they're considering them stats equal to the MLB stats, right?
Oh, wow.
Right. That's completely placating to the black community. Now,
Right.
these same organizations that are now kissing minorities' asses were the ones that were literally oppressing them. It wasn't the everyday people like me, right?
Right.
It was the big corporations.
Yeah. And, all these young liberals went out and voted for Joe Biden. Do they not? They clearly don't understand. They want all this student loan relief and they want things to be more equitable, right? But they're going to vote for the party which has now become the party of foreign wars, which has now become the party of big corporate monopoly. And but they went out and vote for him anyway when it's not. There's such a misconception as to who's on what side in this country.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I'm not a libertarian, like a typical libertarian no more. Like I believe we should set up a jobs program, right? And everyone's like, there is no jobs, there is no jobs. Well, let me tell you something, man. I look at all of our metropolitan cities and they're freaking falling apart, the majority of them, right? You might have a nice downtown district or a nice area of the city, but you go into most of these major cities, these houses are dilapidated,
Yep.
right? Like, and or just litter on the side of the road. Do you see the amount of litter on side of freeways and populated areas, right? And just and they're telling me there's no work, right? What?
Right.
Well, how is there no work when people's houses are falling apart?
Right. I mean, I guess, but who's going to pay for that though? I guess, to do that kind of work.
Well, most of them inner city houses are paid for by government anyway. I used to be in the landlord business. Most of these people are on Section 8 HUD. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
FHA loans, right? The mortgage industry is literally propped up by FHA loans. What percentage of mortgages you think are federally backed? You remember when the housing crash collapsed, right?
Yep.
Yeah, right. That was Fannie Mae and Sally Mae. That's
Right.
government ran. That's government subsidized, right?
But I think as far as what you're talking about, I think the issue with that is going to be, and it's probably an unspoken issue that nobody would admit, but I'll say it. They probably don't want to invest the money in those things because they're afraid that, the people that reside in those neighborhoods are going to just let it all fall apart again.
Well, there's a simple solution to this. We will not pay your. There's standards on Section 8, right?
Mhm.
If you're a landlord and you wish to rent to a Section 8, they got to come in and inspect the property. Just up the standards, man.
Yeah. That's a fair idea, but you'd have to do something. There would have to be something like that involved because I kind of do feel like if, now how long that would take, I don't know, but
Well,
I.
it would benefit everyone. It would create more jobs, right? The
Mhm.
neighborhoods would look better. But the problem is also we got this delusional defund the police movement going on, which is just preposterous, right? It's crazy.
Insane.
You said you got your degree in social work. Did you see what happened to the one social worker out in Portland? Where they want to send social workers instead of the
Right. Well, that's funny because, like, I hear them talking about, oh, we'll send in the social workers, and I'm just laughing, because, like, I know what's going on. It's like you don't want to send some social worker out to try to talk down a man with a gun. You know what I mean? And the whole thing is just absolutely ridiculous.
yeah.
But yeah, I did hear about that, and it's just these people are just absolutely delusional, man. It's crazy, like. And it's funny though because there a lot of them are defund the police, but guess what? When they're in trouble, they're calling the police. So it's insane, man.
Well, the actual Portland City Council member, a female, she was voted on defunding the police, and then literally like 2 days after voting on to defund the police, she called the police on her Uber driver because he wanted to kick her out of the car. So she wants less police, but she wants to call the police on someone on a personal business transaction. Yeah, so she don't even understand the law.
They're crazy, man.
And then talking. We were talking about conservatives being organized. What helps Democrats be organized, whether we like to admit it or not, is the unions. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I don't. My dad worked in a union, but that's been some time ago. I don't really have a lot of experience around that kind of thing recently, so I don't really know what kind of pull they still have. So I mean, you're absolutely right. That's part of it. And another thing I was thinking about too, and other people have brought this up, is how revolutions, and thinking about the time we're in now with all the COVID restrictions and other things that have been stolen, is that they've taken away all the communal meeting places in a lot of these states because you can't go to church, you can't go to restaurants. They've got everybody separated. They've got everybody wearing a mask so that you can't really see them for a person, and this would be the textbook play for preventing an insurrection in this country, right? Mm-hmm. So
yeah, Citizen Man was actually talking about that earlier. Like, they use the bars and brothels and stuff to organize, right? And that's the same reason why they're trying to shut us down on social media. Is our ability to organize. Now, my question is like, okay, we got Parler now, right? Which had a big boost, right? How come you don't see any ads on Parler? And that's going to be the issue with us as far as social media, because like I said, there's this illusion that corporations are conservative. If corporations are so conservative, how come they aren't? When Twitter and Facebook and all that first came out, even 10 years ago, you've seen all the media pushing Twitter. They all open Twitter accounts, right? Now, you're not going to see them opening any MeWe accounts, and MeWe is not even conservative. The actual
no, it's not.
What's happening is they're causing conservative platforms because they're just booting all of us, and we have no place to go.
Right. I mean, do they think we're just going to shut up?
Yeah. I mean, that's what they want.
But every time the conservatives get kicked out of somewhere and they go make their own thing, remember what they did to Gab? They separate you, then they marginalize you and say, well, oh, this place has a bunch of Nazis and horrible people, fascists, whatever,
Well, see that we need to just accept the word fascism. Like I told you, anyone that believes in a police force or let me ask you, the structure of our military, is it not fascist?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Right. That's the epitome of fascism, right? Following, right? Following orders is basically a form of what the left would call fascism.
Hey, this is a good point.
Right. So is our police bad guys? They're the bad, and our military. Yes. If you ask the left, them are the bad guys. Those are the bad guys. And that's the truth. We have to. We need to accept this fact. Look at fascism. Okay, the left used to be ashamed of being called communist. Also, a long time ago, right? It used to be a bad thing to be called a communist, right? They wear it as a badge of honor now.
They do, man. They do. Yeah. And they also, one word that gets used against us a lot is, when they don't like what you have to say, they call you a racist. And for a lot of people who are white persuasion, that makes them uncomfortable. But I don't pay that any attention anymore because I know I'm not racist, and so if they can call me racist all they want to, you know what I mean? Because I know what's up.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be manipulated.
What definition of a racist be?
My definition of racist?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. Somebody who I mean, somebody who discriminates against other, people.
based on skin color, right? Or
Right.
something.
And
Yeah.
I mean,
See, see, my opinion of racism is if you think you're superior than someone based just on ethnic or, you know, a set of circumstances really that you can't control, right? To me, that's racism. If you think you're
mhm,
better than somebody just because they're African American and black or Asian, I'm better just because I'm white.
right.
You know what I'm saying? That's a racist to me, right? Now, as far as like, I've met supposed what we call white nationalists, right, or white separatists that are not racist at all, but they just want to have their own nation.
Yeah.
You know, but they're not racist people. They just want, and we need to face this fact. This is a hard reality. But the truth is, we self-segregate.
We do. We absolutely do.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know where you grew up, but I grew up in Metro Detroit, right? And literally where I grew up, one side of the road was all African American, one side of the road was all white.
Right. And I mean, I've heard, since I've been in the YouTube sphere, I've been around a lot. I actually like to listen to a lot of primarily black, channels just to get that perspective. But there are I've heard a lot of black people on YouTube say that, they just wanted to have their own area and for
Yeah.
white people just to leave them alone, and in Georgia, a group of black people actually bought a bunch of land and are in the process of making their own city.
Yes,
Right?
correct.
Right.
Are we jumping on them, calling them racist?
I don't think so.
No, like, dude, they did the one article. If imagine a bunch of white people trying to get together and saying we're going to have our own little white enclave, our own little white city.
Mhm.
Tell me what would
Oh my God, man! And that's my thing. Like, I don't do double standards. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to do something, I'm mostly cool with what you're doing as long as you don't hurt anybody else. But don't tell me I can't do it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but there's a clear double standard. And you talk about black YouTube channels. I've listened to them also. Some of the very you know, let me tell you, the things they say we can't say.
yeah,
And
you're
it's
right.
going on right here on YouTube.
Mhm.
I listen to them. The things they say we cannot say. Right?
Have you ever? I don't know if you've ever heard of this channel or not. There's a guy. He's it's Real Brother Radio.
Yeah, RBR.
Yeah. Dude, that guy. He's always calling white people Nazis and the
We're
most.
the dumbest race on the planet
That's
Earth.
it. That's it. The dumbest race of people.
Yeah.
Which I honestly think the guy's funny. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like sometimes I wonder if he actually believes the things he says, man. But I mean, it's just there becomes a point when certain amounts of stupidity just become funny in some way.
Yeah. But I'm saying, yeah, no, there's I don't like Louis Farrakhan, right? I'm not a fan. Like I don't wake up and like yeah, like in Metro Detroit, he's on the radio on the weekends. They broadcast his show on the weekends on the radio.
For real?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
right?
wow.
But yet then he's kicked off YouTube, Farrakhan.
Yep.
But so you're telling me YouTube standards are tougher than the FCC's?
Now, I'm gonna tell you what I think about that whole thing with Farrakhan, because that was during the time where they kicked off AJ and a bunch of other people. I think they just kicked Farrakhan off to say, look, we did it to them too.
Right. He was
I think it's the only reason.
Yeah. I agree with you 100% on that. But my point being, though, is I don't want Farrakhan kicked off either.
Right.
Unless you're over here committing crimes, unless you're calling for violence against like a specific person or a specific group of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you should relatively have the right to be on YouTube.
I agree.
You know,
I mean,
my answer to us being censored isn't censor their side, but if you're going to do it to us, you better do it to them, is my opinion.
Right. No, absolutely, man. No double
let me
standard.
tell you, RBR is up to 2,000 subs. I would never get to RBR's level, or if I got there, I'd have to have 20 channels because I'd be getting booted.
Right. So I don't know if you're aware of this or not. I did want to mention this because this has been a thing we've noticed over the past couple of days. So now when you're doing a live stream on YouTube and you try to put which only moderators and channel owners can put links in there, of course. But whenever you try to put a link in now to anything, you're the only person that can see it. And I've seen it on 6 channels so far, and with rare exceptions. And those, I don't understand those exceptions either because they're also conservative people. But I mean, I don't know, man. And they even censor the word subscribe now. If you type in the word subscribe into your thing there, you'll be the only one that can see it. So, the links is one thing, right? The links is one thing. Maybe there's an error, but the fact that you can't even type in the word subscribe tells me that they're trying to prevent the smaller channels from growing. Because how do the smaller channels grow? A lot of times they get on the bigger channels and they, share their link with people, right? And so now it just seems like this is just another way to just tamp down on the growth.
Hey, well, they want to control who grows. I mean, let's be honest, it's rigged.
It is.
It's rigged. In my opinion. How do these talentless degenerates get up to 20 million subs? Like, I don't know if you're familiar with like the Pauls, the guys that box.
I've never watched their stuff, but I know who they are.
Yeah, I mean, like, they got one of the largest, podcasts in the world, and it's basically because they're rich, right? And then, the media is scared. Okay, traditional media is dying, right?
It is.
It's dying. It's like on a vine withering. So they want to control who has the right to become known, who has the right to have their voice heard, right? And I don't even think it's necessarily about controlling it, right? I think it's about paying for it.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Like if you're paying them to advertise your channel, then they'll grow your channel.
Right. And that's interesting. You said that as well because I follow another channel and they're they have about 100,000 subscribers and they're one of those predator catching channels, right?
Right.
And we've seen a bunch of those channels like that be removed from YouTube for whatever reason. And so he used to be he would post his thing in the chat and be like, donate through Cash App or whatever, so they didn't have to pay the super chat fee. But now he's like, no, he's like I want everybody to donate through super chat. He's like, because I believe the only reason they don't mess with us is because we make them money.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And most people will look the other way if you're, let's say I'm spending, like hypothetically, I think the lowest you can advertise with Google is like $1 a day, right? So that's like $365 a year, right? And I think they'll get you like 1,000 subs or something a week or something on average, 700, or views, not even subs, right? But
right.
Okay, now let's say these bigger guys, even they're throwing 100 a week, right? Which ain't a lot of money, right? But how many people can dole out 5,200 a year to promote their podcast?
Right. But there is something about that though, because it depends on what kind of subscribers you're getting. Because if you just get a bunch of dead subscribers that they'll never watch your content, then that just destroys your engagement. I've seen myself in my streams get more people than people that have 1,000 to 2,000 subscribers.
Yeah, because you're doing it organically. You're really doing it. You're really growing it. Most of them people that sell you subs, them are bots. You know what I'm saying? Like, but see, they don't like you because you're doing it organically. They're not making any money off of it. Right, that's the truth. And that might be something to do. There's a lot of bots in the chats too. So that's why they might be killing the links, because a lot you can get chat bots where they just respond to people
Right.
as they enter the room, right? You can Streamlabs has it. There's a couple of where you just get a chat bot. So
Yeah, that very well could have something to do with it. But again, I just find it interesting that they have censored the word subscribe even. And if I may, when I was on Citizen Man before I came here, and I had 2 separate accounts opened on YouTube, and I'm going to tell you just a couple of things they censored that I didn't even know. I don't even understand why they did. So hold on, let me find this one. There was one I was just like, I can't even believe it because it didn't show up to anyone else. Okay, so I put this. I will be on Disavowed Podcast with Bebo at 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. Come join us.
yeah,
Nobody else could see it.
yeah.
But that makes no sense. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't get it.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know, but I hope I'm not gonna say anyone has you blocked, but
No, I don't think so. I don't think
but yeah, okay. We got about 4 minutes, man. You got anything else you like? I like to try to keep it under an hour.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I try not to go too long either. Man, I'm just gonna say what I've been saying. Conservatives cannot afford to sit around and be passive anymore. You really need to look in the mirror and ask yourself what this country is going to look like if you don't stand up and try to protect it, because we're heading to some really dark times, I feel like, and we're going to lose this entire country if people don't stand up and fight for it. It's just, I just honestly, man, I mean, it's just embarrassing to me how people have just rolled over to everything that's going on, and when I know they can do so much better. You know what I
home of the
mean?
brave, baby.
Right, right. Yeah, if we're not the home of the brave, we're not going to be the land of the free anymore. That's for sure. And I mean, you just got to get out. If you got a protest in your area, go to it. Organize. That's the thing we're missing. Organize. Get out there and organize. Organize to open your church back up. Organize other business owners to get your businesses open again. Like, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse, because once the government sees that they can roll over you, you think they're going to stop?
Yeah, they're gonna wake up.
Keep on rolling, baby.
They're gonna wake up tomorrow and say, "We were wrong, man. The American people were right."
Right.
All right, where can you be found at?
My channel is called Based Prism, BASED Prism, and I don't have any set times I go live. That's kind of hard for me to do at this time, but I try to go live a couple times a week.
Yeah,
and
I do the same thing, man. I don't got a set time. Wait till you get a bigger base. It's the easier this way,
Right, right.
All right, and also there is a link in the description to his channel too. Hopefully they don't block that. But
hey, man, it was a lot of fun, brother. Thanks for having me on, man.
All right, stay on and we'll chat a little bit right after. I'll close it out.
All right, man.
All right, thank everyone for joining us. It has been a pleasure, and you all have been disavowed.